Now it's time for RTB 101. This is the segment where we talk about practical questions to help train you to share your faith with friends and family more effectively. And you know, one of the most common questions that I hear, even from people who don't know anything about defending the Christian faith, is the idea that there is scientific evidence for Joshua's long day. And here to help me talk about that is astrophysicist and pastor Dr. Hugh Ross. Welcome back, Hugh.
Well, thank you.
So, this has been a rumor that's been floating around for a very long time.
Over 4 decades.
Yeah. So let's talk about it because it always comes up at outreaches. Whenever I speak, I would say 7 out of 10 times when I do a Q&A, some version of this comes up. And people they've heard this idea that there's scientific evidence for Joshua's long day. So let's start with, what is the supposed scientific evidence for this?
Yeah, the supposed evidence is that Jet Propulsion Laboratory scientists use supercomputers and solar eclipse data to prove Joshua's long day.
So there's some computer calculation that there's a missing day? I mean,
that's the idea, and
okay.
Some of them embellish it by saying they've also been able to prove the 40-minute gap in Hezekiah's sundial phenomena.
Okay.
So that's the story. And the reason why this rumor isn't going away is that technically this could be done. The problem is people living before the days of Joshua's long day did not record their solar eclipses with sufficient timing accuracy or geographical accuracy, either to prove what you see in the Bible or to disprove it. So the fact that it can't be disproved by science, I think, also explains the longevity of this rumor. But I've been told by people at the top of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, there is no truth to this rumor whatsoever.
Okay. So you said earlier, this is a rumor that's been around at least 40 years that you've been dealing with it. So I'm guessing we should probably not use this as an evidence for the accuracy of the Bible, because we have reasons to believe we're very big on exploring consistencies between Scripture and science, but this is not one of them.
This is not one of them. Also, I think is a symptom of people misinterpreting what's being expressed in the book of Joshua. And people read the English translations and think that it's actually saying something about the positions of the sun, moon, and stars. Actually, in the original Hebrew, is talking about God providing an extended period of darkness or an extended period of light to a small valley, the Valley of Ajalon, where a battle took place. And there's a number of ways that could be fulfilled without invoking these ideas that people are speculating about.
So in the book of Joshua, it says that the sun stood still, but we know, like skeptics, I can imagine, would say, well, the sun doesn't move. So is that a contradiction? How do we think about that?
Well, that's an English translation, an unfortunate English translation, because what the original is talking about is there being an extended period of sunlight, or as several Hebrew scholars have pointed out to me, it could easily just as be the opposite, an extended period of darkness where the sunlight is not allowed to come in to that area. In fact, most tell me that that's the more likely translation, is that it's an extended period of darkness, not an extended period of light. And having grown up in coastal British Columbia, I can remember storm events where in the middle of the day it was as dark as it was at night because of how intense the storm was. That would be extremely unusual for the Valley of Ajalon, being in the middle of the Negev desert. So it's nonetheless miraculous. I mean, for that kind of an event to happen at that location is an outstanding miracle.
So now for some people, they're going to watch this segment, though, Hugh. This is a little bit like telling a child there's no Santa Claus, that they shouldn't be using this argument.
Well, it's a different kind of Santa Claus. That's why I'm saying it is a miraculous event.
Okay.
If you really understand it, it's an outstanding miraculous event. And if people want more on this, we actually have done a DVD where we explore this at much depth. So people can get that at our store at reasons.org.
So when we're talking to our friends and family who are not Christians, we want to be very careful to vet the kind of arguments that we use. So talk to us about, even if it's an argument that we might like, That's not a good idea to use the Joshua's long day argument with our non-Christian friends.
Well, for example, you want to make sure it's an argument that's credible with the best Hebrew scholars and also with scientists. And so that's the principle we practice here at Reasons to Believe. We test our apologetic arguments on the scholars before we send them out to the public, and I wish everybody would do that.
Okay, so we want to be very careful about what we're putting forth as evidence. We want to make sure
There's a lot of rumors out there. There's just one of many rumors that we need to squelch.
Yeah, so even if we really like something,
right.
In this case, it's not a good idea to use the Joshua's long day argument.
We got better arguments for what's going on with Joshua's long day.
Very good. So we want to guard our credibility because it's really hard to get that credibility back once we lose it.
Well, if you do lose it, apologize.
Oh, that's a good solution. Yeah. I like that. That's a good word.
We are all going to make mistakes, and it's important that we express that kind of humility.
Very good. I like that, Hugh. Thank you for that wisdom. And I do want to encourage you, if you haven't yet, to check out Hugh's blog. You can go to reasons.org and search today's new reason to believe and look for more credible evidences on the intersection between the Bible and science. There for you with Dr. Ross.